By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which one of these you should use to start your online store. And right off the bat, for 90% of people, either Shopify or WooCommerce is going to be the best e-commerce platform. And I have the hookup, a special discounted price for all these platforms I'm gonna share with you at the end of this video. Let's get started with the pros and cons of Shopify. So right off the bat, it is the most popular e-commerce platform for successful e-commerce entrepreneurs. Of all my friends, of all the different platforms, by far, I'd say about 99% of the people I know that are successful in e-commerce use Shopify. And the reason for that is it's built from the ground up with e-commerce in mind. Some of these other platforms we're gonna be talking about were built for other things, and then later they added the e-commerce functionality, not with Shopify. That was the point from the beginning. They also offer a free 14-day trial, which is a nice thing, so you can test it out, see if it's right for you, and if it's not, you don't have to commit to anything. Shopify also has some of the best, most beautiful e-commerce templates. Even their free templates are actually pretty good, but I think the biggest selling point for Shopify is it has, in my opinion, the best apps, the best plugins, and the best integrations. Whatever functionality you need from your e-commerce site, there is probably an app that you can add to Shopify that will accomplish whatever you want. No e-commerce platform has everything you want right from the beginning, but the good thing with Shopify is it's very easy to add on functionality. One other pro I almost forgot to mention with Shopify is they have a dedicated support team. So if you ever run into any issues, you actually have someone that you can call or chat with live, and they'll be able to fix your problem. Now, there are some cons with Shopify, and the biggest one, in my opinion, is it's kind of expensive. At $29 a month, it is a little bit more expensive than, for instance, a WooCommerce would be, but I think it's worth it. It's kind of like the Apple of e-commerce platforms. The good thing about it, it's expensive, but it won't break, you won't have issues, and it just works. Next up is WooCommerce, and that's the free alternative to Shopify. And the biggest pro with WooCommerce is that it's free. Sort of. It's not actually free. You still have to pay for hosting for your website, but the way it works is WooCommerce is a free plugin to WordPress. But you have to pay a hosting company to host your WordPress site, but it's much cheaper. At $4 to $5 a month, hosting a WordPress site is a lot cheaper than going with Shopify. And because of this, WooCommerce actually is the most popular e-commerce platform. Now, Shopify does seem to be the most popular one amongst successful e-commerce entrepreneurs, but way more people use WooCommerce, and I think it's because it's free. But that's still a pro for WooCommerce. Because it's so popular, you're gonna find a lot of support out there, a lot of different themes that you can use, a lot of different apps and integrations as well. It doesn't have as many high quality ones, I think, as Shopify, but there still is a lot of support out there. Now for cons for WooCommerce, one of the biggest ones is it's not actually free. Even though everyone talks about it being free, you still have to pay for hosting. But like I said, that is cheaper than almost any other e-commerce platform out there. Another con with WooCommerce is you need to be a little bit more technical. Shopify is so much easier to use. It's pretty much idiot-proof, to be honest with you, where WooCommerce, if you don't know any HTML, PHP, or CSS, it may be more difficult. You're gonna probably have to hire people to make some of the changes you want. Shopify makes it much simpler. And the last con is that WooCommerce actually is a little bit more piecemeal. A lot of the things that you might want it to do, you're gonna have to pay for, where Shopify has a lot of the features right out of the box. WooCommerce, you're gonna have to buy different functionality in the form of apps or integrations. Squarespace is great if you wanna have a beautiful site, but it's not built for e-commerce. They added the e-commerce functionality as almost an afterthought, and it shows. I think this site is great if you're an artist trying to sell CDs or a podcast host trying to sell like merchandise, but if e-commerce is the main functionality of your business, do not go with Squarespace. GoDaddy is another one I get asked a lot about. Do not use GoDaddy for your e-commerce. I think a lot of older people get tricked into buying e-commerce as an add-on when they're buying their domain name for GoDaddy. GoDaddy is great for domain names. Do not buy hosting from them. Do not buy anything else from them. It's overpriced. Wix is another site that was not made with e-commerce in mind, and again, it shows. I think Wix is okay if you want a very plain looking website, but as far as its e-commerce functionalities, I don't think it's a good option. Big Cartel is actually an interesting one because it's technically free, and that's if you sell up to, I think, 5 products, it's free. And I think it is good, and their slogan is, it's for artists and makers. So I think if you are selling kind of one-off items, check out Big Cartel. It's not something I personally would use or recommend. I would not build my e-commerce platform on Big Cartel, but I do think for the 1% of people that are maybe makers, artists, things like that, check out Big Cartel. It may be a good option. BigCommerce is very similar to Shopify. It's around the same price, and it used to have some built-in features that Shopify did not have, but Shopify has since added those features. And on top of that, one of the big negatives with BigCommerce is they have selling limits. Basically, if your store is selling over a certain amount, I think it's over like $250,000 a year, they bump up your price. Where Shopify doesn't care how much money you're making, they charge you based on whatever plan you want and you get those features. I personally don't see any reason to use BigCommerce over Shopify. I think Shopify is the better platform. The same is true for Volusion, which is the first website I ever built an e-commerce platform on was Volusion. And I do not recommend them. I've had a terrible experience. They've done a bunch of shady business things. For instance, they moved us up without telling us to a higher tier. Our website has been down multiple times. There's been multiple times where people couldn't add things to the cart, which is a pretty important feature of e-commerce. And it's around the same price as Shopify and BigCommerce. So there's no reason, in my opinion, I would ever recommend Volusion. One of the other platforms I get asked a lot about is Magento. And Magento is like WooCommerce in the sense that it's free. You just have to pay for hosting. And a big pro with Magento is it's really customizable. You can change anything and everything about it. But the bad part is you have to be really technical to be able to use it. And if you're going to change things, you're going to need to hire a designer or a developer, and that can get really expensive really fast. I think Magento used to be like a really popular platform, and it used to be one of the top platforms 10 plus years ago. And I think maybe it does still make sense for larger businesses that want to have a fully customized site, but for the average small business owner, Magento doesn't make any sense. Now, I get a lot of hate comments because I'm not a fan of Magento, but most of the comments come from developers of Magento in developing countries. So again, I think Magento is a dinosaur of a platform. Do not use this if you're a small business owner. Now, I'm gonna announce the winner and make it extremely clear on which platform you should pick in just a minute. But first, I wanna talk about Amazon, Etsy, and eBay. These are probably the most common platforms I get asked about. And I'll be honest with you, they're probably the easiest platforms to get started with because they've already got all the customers there. Everybody's already going to Amazon, eBay, and Etsy to buy things. So if you wanna make money easily online, I say these platforms are a great option, but there are some pretty big cons. And to be honest, Amazon's actually how I make most of my money online. I sell my product on Amazon, and it's probably the easiest money I've ever made online. I've been doing e-commerce for 7 years, and Amazon makes it really easy because so many people are already buying things from Amazon that by listing your product on there, people they buy your product. It's a lot harder to convince someone to come to your website and purchase from you. Now, there are some really big cons with these platforms as well. One of the biggest cons is you don't own the customer. Amazon owns the customer. eBay, Etsy, they own the customer. What I mean by this is when you get someone purchasing from you via Amazon, you don't get the email address. You can't reach out to the customer and try to get them to purchase more things from you. Amazon owns the customer. The other big con is that they can kick you off at any point. You don't even own the platform. If for any reason Amazon, eBay, or Etsy decides they don't want you selling anymore, that's it. You're done. Your business is gone overnight. So to me, the question isn't should you sell on these platforms or should you have your own website? Do both. You're gonna make probably more money off these platforms, but you're gonna have a little bit more security from your own website. Now, usually on this channel, I talk more about Amazon and how I've grown and scaled my Amazon business. So make sure to hit that subscribe button because I give a lot of details all about my business, all about how I've scaled my company. But now let's get into the winner and figure out what platform you should use to start your e-commerce website. And I think it really comes down to, like I said in the beginning, either WooCommerce or Shopify. And it's gonna be about 50-50. I think Shopify is good if you want to pay more to have a professional site that will not break. And if you're serious about e-commerce, like if you really want to make this into a business, Shopify is the way to go. On the other hand, if money is tight, if you want to just dip your toe into the world of e-commerce, you want to test out or have multiple different sites, or if you're not expecting a lot of sales from your website and it doesn't make sense to pay for Shopify, then WooCommerce does make a lot of sense. It is a beginner platform in the sense that most of the really successful entrepreneurs end up eventually upgrading to Shopify. But if you're not ready to spend the $29 a month yet, then go with WooCommerce. Now, you are going to have to pay for hosting. I've reviewed all the different hosting companies, and I by far recommend SiteGround. And I do have a link down below in the description that is a cheaper price than you can get anywhere else for SiteGround. And the same thing for Shopify. I have links down below and up here. And as an added bonus, if you use my links, I will give you a free 30-minute consultation session as a thank you. If you're still unsure, remember that Shopify does have a 14-day free trial, or what you can do is you can watch this video right here where I go in depth and compare Shopify versus WooCommerce. So check out that video, click right there, and remember, in starting my e-commerce business was the best thing I ever did. I highly recommend getting started. So click on the links down below, or if you still want more information, click on that video, and I'll see you in the next video.